activist.
Hey guys, we're at the Unmask, our student athletes rally in Michigan, at the capital of Michigan, and Kristen Meghan, our toxicologist mask expert, will be coming on soon, so thought I'd tune in.
Sorry, I'm changing things up again already. Meghan is being joined by Tammy Clark also. I have her slated for a later time as well, but I want to introduce them. I want to give her an introduction as well, so we'll do that as well. Tammy Clark is an OSHA environmental health and safety professional with over 15 years experience in the field of occupational safety and health. She is a court-approved subject matter expert in the field of OSHA health and safety with regards to PPE, respirators, and testing requirements. She has worked as a legal expert witness in several court cases related to these subjects. Tammy has a BS in business and construction health and safety and holds several industry certifications in the fields of occupational health and safety, environmental health and safety, and emergency medicine. Tammy's work has included field inspections, testing hazardous environments, training management and employees, and teaching in the university setting. She is passionate about providing relevant, accurate, and timely information to her clients, and her work has been acknowledged with several awards and recognitions. Tammy was named one of the most influential women in West Michigan by Grand Rapids Business Journal in 2018, nominated again in 2020. Her business, Tammy K Clark Companies, LLC, was also nominated a top women-owned business in 2019. Please give it up for Kristen and Tammy.
Well, good morning.
This is Kristen Meghan.
So Tammy and I,
That's Tammy Clark.
to speak together. And as you heard our bios, you realize we have a lot of the same credentials. And through all this madness, you will be glad to know that we found each other and realize that we live by each other. So we share the same goals in health freedom, and we're so glad that you're here. We have a lot of information to share with you, and we'll try not to be too technical, but I just wanted Tammy to be able to go ahead and say good morning.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I know many of you have followed my videos and Kristen's videos. We have each done individual videos on the mask issue, talking about how unsafe, unhealthy, and unbelievable it is that we are being forced to put the face diapers over our face, just going about our business every day, and now our kids playing sports. Are you kidding me? From our position and our perspective as health professionals, occupational professionals, environmental health and safety professionals, compliance professionals, we know this is not only egregious, but it is unconstitutional. So we're going to go over some things today, and we are really, really taking up the fight for all of you and especially our children.
So we want to go ahead and first start this off and just let you know that I'm sure you heard we deal with a lot of personal protective equipment issues and health issues in the workplace. But we all know that if you're at work and you're exposed to something that's carcinogenic, meaning cancer causing, if you're exposed to that outside, it's still cancer causing. So the hazard in the workplace with a product or chemical is just as hazardous to you as a civilian. So please understand that the science still is the same. One thing that's the most important thing to understand is, has anyone else seen lately all the news articles coming out? I know MyOSHA yesterday held a webinar explaining there's an organization called ASHRAE, and they are a company that sets engineering standards. And the reason I want to bring that up is because you hear the argument that your children should be able to wear masks to school and wear them playing sports. Why? Because nurses and doctors can do it for 12 hours a day. Well, it's those ASHRAE standards that are used in hospitals and different clinics. Those standards are ventilation standards, and that's called an engineering control. And there's something called the hierarchy of safety and controls, and the engineering controls are very close to the top. So why are we just now talking about engineering controls? Because guess what? PPE is the very last resort. But our governor went ahead and put PPE, and yes, masks are PPE. She put those as our first line of defense. That's not what they're designed to do. Aside from us all knowing that these masks you are being asked to wear are not rated, they are not rated to protect against a virus. Absolutely not. I have 4 degrees in this field. I know what I'm talking about. So we bring up this issue because it's all backwards. We're doing things out of place, and to me, instead of complaining, I think it's a good thing. Because what does it mean? They're realizing, certain individuals in this state, making poor choices without expert opinion, are realizing they kind of put that cart before the horse. So that's what we want to explain to you, what we've seen through implementing those safety and controls, and why we know that PPE is an absolute last resort, and while other safety measures and controls should be in place to control those hazards.
All right, so let's just talk about PPE for a minute, because our government agencies are so busy telling you, oh, face masks are not PPE. Well, guess what? The very fact that they're mandating them for safety and health protection makes them PPE. So OSHA can say all day long, no, face masks are not PPE, therefore we don't have to follow the PPE standards. But guess what, OSHA, Michigan OSHA, you can say that all day long, but the fact that you're mandating it, you just made it PPE. You can't have it both ways. Now you're violating your own standards. So we have to follow PPE programs if we are going to put people in PPE legally, according to OSHA's own standards. And yet what is happening today? They are completely violating the hierarchy of safety and controls, which puts PPE as a last line of defense, and they are implementing PPE on every single one of us to protect from a virus that it doesn't protect you from to begin with. This viron is so tiny. Guys, it's 0.125 microns to 0.3 microns. An N95 respirator will only protect down to 0.6 microns. This viron, it's like putting up a chain link fence to stop a mosquito. What are we doing? We have test after test after test. Going back to 2008, these are randomized controlled tests that has metadata analysis. Think about that. We have tests, scientific tests, that prove face masks, surgical masks, even N95 respirators do absolutely nothing to protect against the spread of infectious disease from viruses amongst healthcare workers. The only thing that those surgical masks and those N95 masks are designed to protect from is bacteria. So again, what are we doing? This is about control. This is not about our safety and health. If it was, we would be following the data. Where is the data, Governor Whitmer? We have demanded it. We have asked for it. We have passed House and Senate resolutions demanding it. And where is it? Because I can give you data all day long that shows what you're doing is not only unsafe and unhealthy, but it flies in the face of the actual scientific data.
That's right!
And it is unconstitutional. Yes. So stand up and take off the damn mask.
Woo!
All right, I'm going to calm down and let Kristen take over.
And like Tammy just mentioned, again, we are experts in this field. Think about it. If you've ever been in a court case or you've ever watched a court case, if you are on the defense, what do? You hire an expert witness. Both of us are donating our time to do this. No charge. And think about this.
Woo!
How is our governor allowed to sit and put together a committee to make these decisions without a PPE expert?
That's right!
You don't get your medical diagnosis from your plumber. None of this makes sense. These are leaders of an entire state. Whitmer's not the only governor making these very ill and ignorant decisions. And they're not okay. Because aside from violating the Constitution and individual liberty, this is completely unhealthy. And that is the main thing that Tammy and I want to hone on in this morning.
Yes.
In our field, sadly, and in a lot of other career fields, you deem something safe until it's not. Well, there's been many chemicals in OSHA standards that even after 15 years of use, they've had to lower that exposure limit, unfortunately, because of tracks and trends of people dying. Well, you've got certain healthcare workers here in this state that want to tell you, I'm not writing an exemption for your child to go to school or play football.
Woo!
Because masks do not harm you.
Woo!
Well, while masks and their issue of whether or not they work may be new to some of you, it's what Tammy and I have been doing for about 20 years. I have study after study after study that even put sedentary healthcare workers needing reasonable accommodations because they were so lightheaded. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and quote you a study from a neurologist, Dr. Blaylock.
Woo!
In a study, research surveyed 212 healthcare workers, asking about the presence of headaches with the use of N95 and sedentary work. About a third of the workers developed headaches with the use of the mask, talking about pressure headaches, confusion, being lightheaded. 60% of them required medication to be able to wear the mask. So I've worked in I've worked in hospitals throughout my career. Well, my job is to hear what you're saying. Nothing is ever one size fits all. So I had employees that worked infectious disease wards that said, Kristen, I can't wear this. And I said, you know what? Let's go get you tested. So we did pulmonary function testing on treadmills and found that their oxygen was dipping an average of 20%. These same nurses that go around and monitor the oxygen levels of their patients. Well, guess what we did? We accommodated them and put them in something called a powered air purifying respirator, also called a PAPR. It's a hood, and they average about $1,000 to $1,500. But those people were responsible for taking care of so many others. So why is it that we recognize masks are even harmful for some healthcare workers, and they're not designed to be worn more than 2 to 3 hours a day? Why are we wearing them while we're overexerting ourselves playing sports? Let's talk about those engineering controls real quick. You want to know a form of a natural engineering control? Natural ventilation, cross ventilation, and dilution ventilation. What do you think that's tied to? Opening windows? Being outside. So if we are outside, why in the world are we covering our faces?
That's right.
It makes no sense. This is just insane to me. So what Tammy's going to go over with you is some of the things that some of our local doctors are saying. But I'm wondering, are these doctors willing to sign liability forms because they claim these masks are safe, which goes against over 15 and 18 years of research?
Good job.
Okay, so first of all, I want to let you know there's a lot going on behind the scenes with our health systems. And a lot of this is stemming from our governor and her tyrannical mandates and the fear-mongering, and they are afraid to lose their licenses. Let's make no mistake about this. This is why you cannot get a mask exemption from your doctor. I am in possession of a letter from Spectrum Health Systems to all of their doctors that says, you will not provide a medical exemption for coronavirus medical exemptions. Are you kidding me? That violates the Hippocratic oath that these doctors take. They take an oath that says they will do no further harm. And yet knowingly, Spectrum Health Systems, and they're not the only one, that's just the only one I happen to have a letter from, has issued statements to their doctors because of pressure from our governor to not provide exemptions. That is terrible. That is putting patients that have documented medical issues, disabilities, things like asthma, COPD, PTSD, all kinds of, pulmonary issues, cardio issues. There are a lot of reasons that people cannot medically tolerate a mask. And in the language of the executive order itself, if you're going to follow these illegal mandates to begin with, because they are, this self-proclaimed mandates that actually violate our system of checks and balances by overriding the legislature is illegal to begin with. But if you're going to go along with it, then at least you better follow the language of the executive orders, which says anyone that is not medically able to tolerate wearing a face mask shall be exempt, period. Exempt means exempt, guys. What are we doing? Why do we have to run and get a doctor's note to begin with? This is not gym class.
That's right.
That I need a doctor's note to sit it out. This is not FMLA. That I'm asking for 6 weeks leave due to maternity or paternity issues. So what in the heck are we doing? And in addition, when you do go to a doctor and you ask for a medical waiver because you do have a medical issue, you're not able to medically tolerate the mask, they're telling you that you can't have one.
That's right.
So they're forcing you to do it, creating a greater hazard, violating the Hippocratic oath, violating OSHA standards.
Yes!
Come on, Michigan OSHA, stand up to this.
Woo!
So I'm going to read you a letter. It's actually an article that I have, which is so egregious. Because these doctors from the Spectrum Health Systems, and there are others around the state, are coming out and saying things like, oh, it's perfectly safe to wear a face mask while exercising. It's just a mental issue. You just need to get used to it. And they have absolutely no studies. They have well, the studies that they do have are very contradictory to what they're saying. They have no studies showing that that's safe. And what they're doing is incredibly irresponsible and dangerous, unethical, and downright illegal. So I'm taking some steps behind the scenes to address this. I want to read to you a couple of letters that I actually have some studies about athletes that will adjust to wearing a face mask. Don't worry, they'll get used to it. Yeah, tell that to all the kids that are passing out, that are dropping over like flies.
Criminal!
Tell that to the kids that are literally crying and walking off the volleyball court and saying, I can't do this anymore, I quit.
Save our kids!
Like Kristen said, we know that something is safe until it's proven not safe. So, okay, you don't have any studies that show that wearing a mask while exercising is safe. In fact, we have nothing but studies to the contrary. But now we have the evidence because we've got thousands of kids across this country who are quitting, who are crying, who are passing out, who are headachy, who are fatigued. They can't go on with it anymore, and their lives are literally being destroyed because sports was the one thing they had left.
Save our children!
And now we're messing with that. Do you know what that's doing to our kids mentally, emotionally? I mean, think about it, guys. This governor needs to be held accountable for this.
Criminal!
She is
Lock
wreaking
her
havoc
up!
on millions of lives. I'm not talking about the economic devastation. That's its own conversation. I'm talking about the mental health and the physical health and the well-being of our society, of our citizens, and our children. She's got to be held accountable for that. This has got to stop. And this is what I said from stage before I read this. If any of you heard me, because I'm also the executive director with Stand Up Michigan, aside from my professional background, that's why I got involved. Because I, as a business owner, said, I'm not going along with this. Nobody can tell me that I can't run my business. I'm smart. I'm a health and safety professional, for crying out loud. I can run my business safely and healthy, keep everybody healthy. I know what I'm doing. It is illegal for somebody to tell me I can't run my business and I have to shut down and I can't feed my family and I can't support my employees.
Right!
So you know what I said? Nope, not going along with it.
Woo!
So I joined Stand Up Michigan as the executive director, and I have been encouraging all of you to stand up and just say no. Nobody can make you do anything, guys. So stand up and say no. All right. Let me just read this to you because I want to give you some information about what these doctors are saying and why you're being told you can't get a medical exemption. So they're saying that your children will adjust. No problem. Let me just read an article from a couple of coaches. One of the coaches from a well-known high school in Grand Rapids, and I'm not going to name names here, says, I think that everybody kind of has their own opinion on this. And I guess mine is that I wish we could just play without them because the kids are struggling. He says his players are having difficulty communicating on the field. This is a football coach. Their face masks are fogging up. They're having a difficult time seeing and breathing. And they're having to take more time out. He's dealing with kids that are crying. These are middle school kids. And they're really frustrated and they're about ready to quit.
Save our kids!
Well, let me tell you. Dr. Daniel McGee, yeah, I'm going to name names when it comes to this stuff. A pediatric hospitalist of Helen DeVos Children's Hospital says there is no danger for our kids playing in a face mask. I'm going on record with this because I think he's got some explaining to do. He says, I think it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing, says a doctor.
Take his license!
All right, he said more than anything, it will be an adjustment that our athletes will just need to get used to. Exactly. All right, this sentiment was echoed by Dr. Ross Sherman, an associate professor in exercise science at Grand Valley State University. He says, if you're a normal, healthy, active individual, especially if you're an athlete, and you have medical clearance, there should be no reason why the mask is going to impair you. Again, are you kidding me? Guys, I was a competitive gymnast. I was an elite gymnast for many years. And I'll tell you what, I was sucking wind to breathe without a mask. I could barely breathe as it was just because I was breathing so hard and we were exerting so much energy. My cardiopulmonary system was taxed to the max without a mask on.
Yep.
Right? So imagine what these kids and our athletes are dealing with, covering their face, covering their mouth and their noses, and we're asking them to play at max capacity, cardiopulmonary. I mean, think of the issues. Kids are developing asthma and are being diagnosed with asthma right now at an unprecedented rate that never were before.
Unacceptable!
And what they're saying, what the doctors are saying is, oh, we're just discovering that your child has asthma. No, my child never had asthma. Guess what? My child has developed asthma because of this. This is creating health issues, pulmonary issues, cardio issues. The cardiopulmonary system works together. So Kristen and I have said for quite a while, we're going to see some very detrimental things happen because of this, and we're already starting to see them. Collapsed lungs, pleurisy, asthma, the lack of oxygen that affects every system in the body. The lack of oxygen, and Kristen just told you, we have studies within OSHA. We know these studies because we have been with OSHA as instructors and trainers and PPE experts, subject matter experts for over 15 years. We have these studies. We already know. The very first thing you do when you put somebody in a face mask or a respirator is you cover their face and nose and you get them on a treadmill because we have to tax their system. We know this. We induce this stress on purpose by putting them in a face covering, in a face mask. So the studies are there. OSHA knows the data is there, and yet they're turning a blind eye, and the very agency that is supposed to protect you is now forcing you to do something that is unsafe and unhealthy. So these doctors are going along with this, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of it is because of fear. They are afraid to lose their licenses because our governor is so punitive that that's what she does. How dare you stand up against me, you naughty children, I'll show you. And then she weaponizes her Attorney General, Dana Nessel, to go, take your license. Well, why are we even afraid of that? We now have case precedent with Carl the barber, right? She can't just take your license away from you. That is the responsibility of the licensing board. So I've been telling people, stop being afraid of this governor and stand up. She can't control us if we all stand up. All right, I have got other studies here, but I think I've said enough. The studies exist. The doctors know this, OSHA knows this, the governor doesn't care, and she's acting like a tyrant in which she doesn't get her way. Spoiled child that she is. She weaponizes these agencies and her Attorney General, and I'll show you, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen for some closing thoughts. But we wanted to come out here today because we're not getting paid for this. We are both experts in this field, and nobody is consulting the PPE experts. We're the ones who tell the doctors and nurses what kind of PPE they need to wear.
Thank you.
We're the ones that tell the construction workers what kind of PPE they need to wear. We're the ones that test for the pathogen, the viron, the bacteria, whatever it is. We test all of that, and we put you in the PPE after that PPE has been tested and after you have been medically cleared to work in it. So this whole thing is completely backwards. And we recognize it in our fields, and there are a lot of other health and safety professionals that recognize this as well, but they can't stand up because they work for somebody and they're afraid to lose their jobs. There are a lot of doctors and nurses who know this as well, but they can't stand up because they're going to lose their jobs.
Kids.
And Kristen and I are both in a position, we are our own boss. And we both said, you know what, if people like us who have this kind of knowledge, credentialing, and experience do not stand up, who's going to?
That's right.
So we are saying it loud and proud, and we are not going away until this mask mandate goes away. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make one last point that I thought is very important for you to understand, and this highly relates to the whole issue why we're here, masking up while playing sports. We have something very commonly known in our career field, and it's called the Greater Hazard Clause. There are many times there are laws and standards that say when you're doing this, you have to wear this because it's unsafe. But the people that are making those choices sit in suits in administrative offices. So they send people out to assess the hazard, and people like me, we conduct something called a risk assessment. And sometimes we determine, I'm sorry, You know, I know you're working on those electrical lines over there, but those heavy, heavy gloves they want you in for arc flashes impedes your vision and you're more likely to die wearing the gloves. It's a risk, but it's a well-evaluated risk. So there's many processes out there for many of you, working, not working, your spouses, your family members, that get excused from PPE because it creates a greater hazard to the wearer.
That's right.
The most important thing I want you to know today is that there are a lot of people not standing up here, but there's a lot of people in our career field that are speaking up. Maybe with distorted voices and ghostwriting articles, but they're speaking up. Personally, I spent 9 years on active duty and took an oath to the Constitution 3 times. I'm a disabled veteran and I can't wear a mask. I get denied medical care nonstop. It's unacceptable and it's illegal.
Yeah.
What you need to know is these are your children. You have 2 professionals that work in health and safety telling you safety is our number 1. Your health recommendations from us, they are not our political opinions. It is based on the science.
Woo! Yes!
We are telling you, do not put your children in these masks.
Woo!
If you're putting your children in these masks, I understand some of you still do because your children want to play these sports. But it is not just their physical health that's impacted, it's their mental health.
That's
and
right.
we see the arguments on YouTube that say it doesn't decrease oxygen. Yes, it does.
Woo!
And let me tell you another hazard of wearing this mask. When you are working out, you are breathing heavier. As you breathe heavier, you continuously impede those gaseous exchanges. Yes, you can still get oxygen in, but it's lowered. But you're cycling your air faster and you're breathing in that carbon dioxide faster. Not only that, but you're already exempting your mask. It needs to be thrown away because the minute that mask is soiled from your spit or from humidity or from sweat, the mask is done.
Yeah.
I just want you to know how insane this is all to us because we have dedicated, well, for me, half my life, making sure that everyone has the right to be safe and healthy in their work environments.
Thank you, Kristen.
We just want to close this out with our little chant here. And we just want to say, the experts agree. Unmask our MVPs.
Woo!
Let's do it one last time for the elected officials inside. All right, we're going to say, the experts agree. And you're going to say, unmask our MVPs as loud, so loud that we create a noise hazard, which we also specialize in. So, again, the experts agree.
Unmask our MVPs! Woo! Thank you!
That doesn't get your heart racing. Thank you. Next, I wanted to read a letter that was written from an athletic director in Brighton. His name is John Thompson. And this is a public letter that he wrote to the governor. I am writing to you regarding the mask order for organized athletics. I cannot make sense of this unenforceable mandate. You are trading one concern in which data shows has minimal impact on kids for another risk that, God forbid, could cause a kid an even greater harm. Student athletes at all levels across the country have had cardiac and other oxygen-related traumas occur while participating in sports and activities.
I have it in the car.
The World Health Organization has stated and still states that people should not wear masks when exercising.
I've got my charger.
This is a decision you cannot reasonably expect people to follow, nor can you reasonably expect to enforce it. I understand that you may be or may have staff that are not excited about school sports being played, but this is really a poor mechanism to blunt the opportunities that were allowed in Executive Order 176. Nothing was enforced all spring and all summer as non-school sports played on. And just to take a break from that, I can attest to the fact that my child was playing soccer all summer without a mask and not having a health issue. The same as all the other kids on his team and the entire league. back to the letter. I am sure that the governor and staff will say that all EOs are not made with politics in mind, but the governor and her staff should have better political instincts than this. Aside from disenfranchising many families and voters with this non-uniform mandate, God forbid if something really bad happens, which I pray does not, but it's your EO and a decision that did not have to be made. People, for the most part, are doing their best in complying with EOs, masks, etc., but this gets eroded by these types of actions and or reactions. You invoke a new order, but the new order says nothing new. You only realize that you conflicting language in 176 and 153, which has happened time and time again in EOs involving school sports. You are now requiring masks for girls golf, boys tennis, and cross country, where none were required a month ago, when started on August 12th. Or are you? EO 180 makes no mention of girls golf, boys tennis, and cross country, but then uses language, for example, an athlete participating
this guy
in
feels
football,
about wearing
soccer,
his
or volleyball.
mask while he's listening
So
to this.
is that by not mentioning these sports that you are saying that they do not have to wear masks? If so, please just say it so. And admit you made a mistake on Executive Order 176. People would respect that. Again, this makes no sense. You allowed Little League Baseball and all kinds of recreational and travel sports, including those categorized as high risk, to go on all summer long. No masks, no restrictions, no enforcement, and ignored the topic. All of this while, your good faith partner, the MHSAA, has patiently worked
That's
to
true, his
collaborate
nose
with
isn't
your
covered, is it?
However, now it's different, and by default, all kids and adults they
His
serve
colleagues
are
is,
treated
though.
differently. Will you now require masks for non-school golfers who play in weekly leagues organized by their country club? How about adults and kids who play recreational flag football? How about senior
They're
citizens
not even paying
who play
attention.
tennis?
And she's
How
not.
about the local running groups who
She
gather
could care
in
less.
community? What about field hockey, which is played by Michigan in the fall? We do know, according to media reports, that a governor's spokesperson stated that the Detroit Lions are exempt. Do they not merit the same protections our government is providing to others, whether they were asked for or wanted? And he did add it this morning. He pointed out language
They're the press.
with the Big Ten as well. But why is it different for them? And will it be different when Big Ten sports play? What about the winter sports and things that have athletes doing out-of-season practice and workouts? Will bowlers, gymnasts, competitive cheerleaders, pole vaulters, and sprinters have to wear masks? Seems very risky to have a kid flying through the air or tumbling on a 4-inch beam wearing a mask that could change the position and impair vision. Does the governor and her staff know when the first day of school winter sports begin? It is currently slotted for 11/2/20. Should we expect more executive orders on 11/2 regarding winter sports? This new EO is not even 7 days old and required a new EO released in the evening that still does not clarify anything. This is sloppy and erodes public confidence.
That's right, yeah.
What about a student who has a medical note saying they cannot wear a mask while participating in a sport? Where is that mentioned in the EOs? If a school is presented with a medical note, what should the response be? Allow those with medical notes to participate mask-free, or deny their participation? If it is the first, then this means those with means and access have been given an out, and others cannot afford or access. That seems like perhaps an unintended or unconscious bias. If it is the first, who can sign off on that medical note? Is it a ND, a DO, a PA, an NP? Can a psychologist or psychiatrist or a chiropractor sign off? What is the process? Again, an unanswered question. The governor stated that MHSAA was being trusted to make the decisions on school sports. However, it seems like that trust in the sound bites, and not indeed by the governor, her staff, her attorneys, her medical professionals, and all involved. I can and do say the same with the return to school.
Hey guys, I don't know who this
School
is.
startup
She's
is
the
this
host
Sunday.
of this
The governor and her
rally.
staff
Sorry, I didn't catch her
and
name.
Fair government as a whole knew when school started. As for school sports starting, that date was known too. These things did not sneak up on the governor, her staff, or anyone else. I understand that the governor and her staff have been busy. I truly do understand and appreciate that the job is tough. However, we are all busy. We're all working our way through a health crisis that affects not just physical health, but social and emotional health. Someone once said, very few burdens are heavy if everyone lifts. On the issue of school sports, you should use that and avail yourself for the best partners available, which are the MHSAA, its member schools, private and public, who represent, have represented, and will continue to represent a large majority of our great state's citizens. Yours in education, John Thompson, CMAA. Again, I wish he could be here to read that for himself or to make that statement. Obviously, school's in session for some of us, not all, but that is keeping some of us from being here. I do actually have a few other statements from students. I think actually we might do another. I'll save these. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. We're going to have Rusty Chatfield come on out. I'm already being drawn out again. Rusty Chatfield has been a pastor at Northern Michigan Baptist Bible Church in Burt Lake, Michigan since 1983. He is a graduate of Tennessee Temple College in Chattanooga, Tennessee with a Master of Arts in History from Central Michigan University. He has also studied at Temple Baptist Theological Seminary and North End International University. His church operates a Christian school, Northern Michigan Christian Academy, in which he teaches history and civics. He has always been vocal about voting and participating in the political process, but recognizes it is more important now than ever before.
That's right. Everybody vote.
Couldn't agree more.
This is so important. Vote, vote, vote.
MHSSA required that coaches, non-participants, and spectators wear a mask during athletic events. They acquiesced. But when the mask mandate came for participants on the field of play, they decided not to comply.
Woo!
Unfortunately, their soccer and volleyball seasons have been greatly diminished because of it.
Ooh.
But he stands by the decision to put the safety of these students first.
Yes, thank you.
Rusty Chatfield.
Woo! More need to be brave like this man.
We are living in crazy times.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed, there was a lady walked through the crowd here. Pastor Georges and I noticed that she was walking through with a mask on, reading the signs, doing this. They think we are crazy. We're living in a day when there's rioters burning down cities, or trying to, occupying cities, taking over, demanding to defund the police.
Boo!
And cities are considering it.
Boo!
Chaos and unlawfulness running rampant, and then we are going to defund the police?
Ridiculous!
That is insane. We're living in a state now, and I know, man, it's hard to say, well, we're not going to get political here, but listen, everybody, there's a whole bunch of things swirling in our country, and masks are a part of it. A whole bunch of issues. You say, well, I don't want to hear politics. Well, there's a whole bunch of swirling things going on here. Our state constitution mandates a Republican form of government. First of all, our federal constitution, Article 6, says that the United States shall guarantee to every state a Republican form of government. The definition of Republican form of government is where you have 3 branches of government. I teach my students this, very simple. The legislative branch makes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. This is very simple. We are now living in a state where one branch of our government has declared itself supreme, ongoing. And this is in the Michigan Supreme Court. But you know what? Whether it's in the court or not, I can read the Constitution. I've read it 50 times.
Yes.
I can read our state constitution, and I can read our federal constitution. We are now living in a state where we do not have a Republican form of government, where the legislature has been declared basically non-essential by the government. I know that. That is the way that is. Now, the other side looks at us and says we're radicals. And I'm watching the news, I'm watching the thing with the masks, I'm watching everything, and I'm saying, frankly, you are out of your mind.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
This is like a horror movie.
Yes.
You ever watch a horror movie where there's some sort of something going on and the aliens are invading and they're taking over people's bodies and other people are accepting it, and one part of the population says, don't let them take over. I sense that's the kind of life we're living in here.
Yes.
Does anybody remember the saying 2 weeks to flatten the curve?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember just a few
Lies.
months ago when Dr. Fauci came out and said that masks, it's not really doesn't work?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'd kind of encourage you not to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have all these the medical people telling us all this information about this study and that study and this study. The fact of the matter is, and I'm all for their studies. I played sports. When I would get winded, I would do this. Now, we could do this. Okay, get winded and put your hand over your mouth and tell me you're getting as much oxygen as you did before.
That's right.
I don't even need a medical study to tell me that.
That's right. Common sense.
Common sense tells me that.
Yes.
Okay, now they're telling us that wearing a mask will save the Earth's population.
Wow.
And there was no study that said that 6 months ago. And I'm just watching this and I'm saying, this is insane. Okay? Now, we are in a war. We are in a war
Yes.
that has a lot of different fronts to it. Now, I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Woo!
I believe the ultimate battle is in the heavenlies. That's where the ultimate battle is. But it is playing out here. And one of the fronts of this is the mask story.
Yes.
In my view, this is insanity versus sanity.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I know the science say science. We have science on our side, and I get that, and I'm glad for it. Yet, there's nobody on earth who's going to convince me that covering my mouth when I need oxygen is not unhealthy.
Right.
I don't even need the studies. I know that.
Right.
How about the second paragraph of our Declaration of Independence? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that to exercise with a mask on is insane.
Yes.
That's not quite the next line. But it is a self-evident truth. It is self-evident.
Yep.
Let me tell you about our school story. Amanda mentioned it briefly. So our school has been a part of the Michigan High School Athletic Association for 25 years. And we're a Christian school. When you join the MHSAA, you agree to abide by their rules. Every year that we've been a part of this, that rule book is thicker and thicker and thicker. Okay, all right. About a month ago, they came up with a rule that said, okay, for sports now, bench personnel, coaches, and spectators must wear a mask. I'm not appreciative of them telling our church and school, ours is a church school run by our church, telling us that we've got to force people to put masks on to come and watch their kids play volleyball. Yeah. Or outside to watch them play soccer.
Yeah.
Okay, but we went along with that. That was about a month ago. A couple of weeks ago, we got another message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association that says now participants have to wear masks at all times.
Ooh.
While you're participating in a game and at practice.
Ooh.
So I said, you need to call them. They didn't mean that. They couldn't have. We called them and said, no, we mean it. We mean it.
Crazy.
It is crazy. I'm sorry. I can't help but get agitated. That is crazy.
Unmask our
That's right. Unmask the people. That is crazy. You don't need a doctor to tell you it's crazy. Now, the science is on our side. I'm grateful for that. But you don't need a doctor to tell you that. That is a self-evident truth.
Amen.
So we said, okay, we decided, look, we'll abide by the sitting on the bench, in the stands, the coaches. Okay, we'll do it. And they went this next step, and I said, that is too far. First, that's too far.
Good job.
First of all, it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
It is unhealthy to wear a mask while you're exercising. But frankly, I'm skeptical to think I think it's kind of unhealthy to wear it any time.
Amen.
But especially when you're trying to get oxygen in your lungs. Does that make any sense?
Allie, this is
Listen,
a superintendent of a Christian school that has refused to mask their kids for sports.
Surely you don't think that makes sense, right?
Right.
So we think it's unhealthy. Secondly, the second reason we say we're not going to do that.
And he's a pastor.
I knew the parents. They thought it was stupid, unhealthy, idiotic, and they paid tuition to us. And we would like to pay our teachers and not have a third of the school withdraw because we started to try to make their children wear masks on the field. Now, that's just a kind of a practical thing. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the public school system has the power of taxation, and whether you so the public schools don't have that option. I get it. We're kind of, I mean, they get money from the state of Michigan, and it's kind of rougher for them. Okay?
Shame on the schools for doing it anyway.
Yes. Shame.
I'm sympathetic, believe this or not, I'm sympathetic with MHSAA. Because they keep coming back, it's the governor's telling us this. Under their breath they say, I hear you about breathing, but it is the governor's orders. By the way, here's how these things are. These things are layered. It is unlawful. She does, in my view, she's operating outside the bounds of the law and has been since April 30th.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But that is the way it is. MHSAA is just, so it's unhealthy. It's against our parents' desires. And I tried to explain this to our students. And I said, somebody's got to say, our student athletes. I said, we got to stand for freedom here. This is insane. We are going to stand for freedom.
Yes.
And they understood
Thank you.
it. They did understand it. Now, let me just be a little sympathetic to some other schools. Okay? And just in all honesty. Our soccer team this year is not too hot. We weren't going to win much. Now, our volleyball team was pretty good. We thought we had a chance to win our league championship. We thought we had a decent chance. And for those girls to say, okay, we understand, we're not going to wear masks. That was a sacrifice. We went to the first league game, didn't wear masks. The opposing team did. We won. They went back and told the league that we were not obeying the MHSAA rules. The league basically said, do you want to stay in the league? We said, yes, we do. So we compromised and said, okay. We compromised and essentially said, okay, we will forfeit our games because we don't want to get kicked out of the league altogether. Hopefully, that this insanity is going to stop soon.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. So we have now had to forfeit most of our soccer games and most of our volleyball games.
That's wrong.
Girls who thought they had a chance of winning the league championship, and they did. Oh, we have no chance now because we're having to forfeit. Now,
It's wrong.
So we felt like we were standing for freedom. Here's what we said to the people of the state of Michigan and MHSAA, and in a sense, the governor, I suppose. Here's what we're saying. We're not going to do that. This is unhealthy, and we're going to stand against that.
Yeah. Woo! Thank you.
We're a small Christian school, and not many schools have followed us, to my knowledge. Now, I do know this. Here's what's happened around the state. There was a picture in the Traverse City Record Eagle last week maybe 2 weeks ago, where Traverse City Central was playing Traverse City West. 5 or 6 pitchers, and there wasn't one athlete that had a mask on. They had it all pulled down to their neck.
Good.
And I'm not blaming Traverse City West or Traverse City Central or their coaches or the public school system there. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of practices going on today where nobody's going to be wearing masks. And basically what's happening is coaches are looking around for the administrators and say, okay, you can take the mask off. He said, Pastor Chatfield, why didn't you go that route? Because I didn't want to acquiesce to the unlawfulness and the unhealthiness of the whole thing.
That's right.
It seemed to me to be dishonest
Stand up.
to say we're going to obey the rule when we know we're not going to obey the rule.
That's right.
So that is what we did. Now we have got, in my view, to stand. It is time to stand up. Now, I spoke at a pregnancy. I make no bones about it. I'm pro-life.
Woo!
I spoke at a pregnancy center last week in near Flint. Anyway, and they hand out these little things here. So I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but I believe in life. Okay. You say, well, Pastor, that's not our issue. I know. I know. Maybe some of you. I don't know where you're. Okay. That's not our issue. Well, here's what I said to that. Here's what I said to that crowd, and I had about 10 hats that I put on. As you may or may not have noticed, I am bald. And when I go home at night, I do this. Maybe I'll get a picture in the paper. I wear what's called a sleeping hat because my head gets cold. I sleep yes, this is very funny. I sleep every night with a hat on. It's called my sleeping hat. It's called my sleeping hat. Ephesians chapter 5, the Bible says to Christians, it is high time that you awaken out of your sleep. Listen, everybody. I would imagine some of you are just starting, you're using your common sense, you're here, you want your child to be able to participate in sports, but you don't want him to wear a mask. And all of a sudden you're thrown into this activist movement here.
Yep.
Listen, maybe you had a sleeping hat on too long. You have to be involved. So here's my first point about hats. Take the sleeping hat off. You have to stay involved with this.
That's right. Stand up.
Christians or anybody.
Speak
up.
Stay
involved. So, well, no, that's not. This is my issue. I'm telling you that all these things are linked together.
Yeah.
They're all linked together.
Yep.
Here's why I brought this in. This is my preaching hat. I'm almost done here. This is my preaching hat. This is what I wear when I have a suit on. A preaching hat. I'm telling you the bottom line here, what's going on in America is nothing short in the forces of good and the forces of evil.
That's right. Yes. That's right.
Yes.
It is the message that Jesus Christ died on the cross for the sins of the world, was buried and rose again from the dead to save us from sin, death, and hell. That message,
yes,
the fundamental message of Christianity, is under attack.
Yes.
You say, well, you're a preacher. Just stick to the preaching of the gospel. I do. I preach the gospel. Been at the same church 37 years. I rarely miss my own church service. 9 times in 37 years do I go away from my church. That's how many times. So that's my preaching hat. But I also have got this is my American hat.
Woo!
Which stands for freedom.
Yes.
Our freedoms are being denied us.
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you this. These things are linked. These things are linked. Take the sleeping hat off. You cannot sleep any longer.
That's right.
And you're going to leave from this rally. You can't go home and say, well, I'm glad I voiced my opinion. No, you better stay engaged.
Yeah.
You got to stay engaged. Go to church. And fight for America.
Woo!
You got to wear different hats. You got to pray.
Yes.
You've got to pray.
Yep.
You got to learn how to pray.
Yep.
To God the Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, being led by the Holy Spirit of God.
Yep.
These things are, and for those of you that may not be Christians, I'm telling you, these things are all linked together.
Yes.
They're all linked together. And let me just tell you this, everybody. I don't think that masks, I don't know the future any more than you do. But I don't think that masks will be the end of this. We never win this.
That's right. That's
what
right.
happens during basketball or baseball season when we got a vaccine? And now that's the cure.
Not gonna take it. Not for my kids.
And then they say, no participation in sports unless you've been vaccinated.
Woo!
No entry into stores unless you've been vaccinated.
Oh!
No buying or selling unless you've been vaccinated. Because you're endangering other people. What if you think, well, that's absurd. It'll never get to that point.
Yes,
I
it
never
will.
thought that people would talk about defunding the police either. I never thought that we'd get to the point where you'd have to where seemingly sane people are requiring athletes to be on a soccer field outside wearing a mask while they're sucking to get oxygen into their lungs. They want to force kids to do that.
Evil!
That is crazy.
Evil!
That is crazy. And evil. So here's my last word. I don't know what chant I'm supposed to come up with here. Listen, doesn't matter how many people shake their heads at us. Do not doubt your sanity. You are the sane ones.
Keep smiling, just keep smiling.
We are the sane ones. I know they look at us like we're insane. So be it. Okay, so be it. They look at us like we're insane. But don't doubt your sanity. This cause is right.
Yes.
This is right. This is
Yes.
just common sense. This is
Yes.
the other side. They're the crazy ones. We are the sane ones.
Yep.
Amen. Okay,
Yep.
well, how do I chant here? How about we are sane?
We are sane. We are sane. Woo!
We're the sane ones. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for standing up for our kids. Woo! Freedom.
All right, thank you to Pastor Chatfield. My name is Sarah Carroll, and I started the Unmask Michigan Youth Sports Group.
Woo! Thank you.
I'm just going to start out and read a couple, stories that have been posted to our group. From Michael. I posted last week how my daughter and another girl collided in a volleyball match. I fully blame the masks on obstructing their view and their ability to hear each other clearly. She was basically speared in the temple by the crown of the other girl's head. Today is 1 week since the injury and still trying to recover. She's gone to a specialist and is determined she does not have a concussion but a vestibular system injury. We go back Friday for an update to either get released, doubtful, or begin therapy. She hasn't been on the court in a week. That will be extended and will now miss 2 softball tournaments. Thankfully, she's been excused from all classwork and attendance at school because this injury happened in a game at school, and the specialist we see works closely with the school. And then from Carrie, I just had to tell the parents, of Pee Wee cheerleaders that I could not be their coach this weekend. The community we're playing in is requiring the little girls to wear masks while cheering. My girls are 4 to 8. I refuse to make them wear masks. I'm just so sad, but I could not compromise my beliefs and go along with the madness.
Yeah, stand up. Thank you.
So 6 months ago, our kids were asked to stay home from school and from all of their activities for 3 weeks to help slow the spread of a virus that we thought could be like 5 to 10 times more deadly than the flu. Of course, they willingly did so. Some were even a little bit excited, like mine, thinking they had an extended spring break, right? Without complaint. But then soon those 3 weeks turned into 3 months, and an entire season of our children's lives were canceled. They kept being told, we just need to stay home a little longer. We're not out of the woods yet. We need to flatten the curve and be sure the hospitals aren't overwhelmed.
Lies!
You're
Lies!
responsible for killing your grandma, right? They
Lies!
did everything that was asked of them. And even as all of their milestone events and sports seasons were missed. For many children, depression and anxiety set in. Let me just say, when your 6-year-old tells you that he wants to break a bone, that is not normal. Anxiety and depression in our children is real. So in June, when a little bit of normality crept back in and some things were allowed to open up, and our children were able to resume organized and unorganized sports in person and have connection with their teammates and their friends, it was a great relief for so many of us parents to see our children happy and active and enjoying life again. For me, my boys were able to take to the ice again as the ice rinks in Traverse City area where we live were able to open up. They were so happy to be back on the ice playing the sport they loved with their friends. They attended hockey camps, they went to weekly organized skates, and my oldest one had tryouts. Now he made the team that he tried out for, and he was on cloud 9. And then just a week after that happened, we received the executive order that kids in the rest of the state could finally start skating too. So exciting, because everyone should be able to play sports, right? Except for some reason, that could only come if everybody would wear a mask while they would play. So we were in shock. My kids had done everything that was asked of them, and now they were basically being punished due to some science and data that we'll never get to see. It was my last straw, and I had to do something to make this nightmare stop. So I started this little group really late one Sunday evening and added 2 of my friends to it to begin, and it just grew and grew, and soon I found that I wasn't alone in my fears over it being dangerous for children to wear masks while they actively play sports. I just saw that we have now over 19,000 people in the group that feel the same as I do.
That's right.
So there's no science that tells us it's safe for children to wear facial coverings. There is no science that tells us it is safe for children to wear facial coverings while exercising or playing sports. And to say that it is, as Dr. Kildoon has said, is a lie. Our children are the experiment, and it's not acceptable.
That's right.
We just need to look at states that have been doing this for months. Look at Florida. They opened up youth sports at the end of May without masks, and we have not heard of any problems. There is actual data out there from other states, from other countries, that we are not being told and that is not being used to make these decisions.
They're lying.
We ask that Governor Whitmer please look at the lack of science for making our children wear masks and the abundance of data that supports our children needing to be playing sports without masks for their physical and for their mental well-being. Because there are still some people that believe that there are no mental exemptions for wearing a mask, but truly there are. People cannot wear masks for mental reasons. And I don't understand, mental health used to be like such a huge important factor for everyone, and for some reason that's no longer important, and I find that shocking.
Sad.
So anyway, thank you all for being here today, and thank you to our great speakers that we've had volunteering their time and their voices for this cause. And I want to thank Amanda, I don't know where she is. Thank Amanda, she took the initiative to organize this entire event all by herself, and she's done an awesome job, so thank you. And let's keep working to unmask our athletes. So I'm going to introduce the last speaker of the day. Oh, Tammy's going to come back after? Okay, sorry, not really. But
We can listen to Tammy for hours.
Pastor Jason George he's the senior pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in Corona. He's a proponent of the principles of religious liberty, and he's led his dynamic congregation to continue to gather throughout the COVID hysteria safely. He also runs a Christian school that has unmasked athletes and unmasked students.
Thank you.
A native of Texas, Pastor George has ministered in Michigan for over 20 years with his beautiful wife and 6 daughters.
Woo! Thank you for standing up for our kids.
For 6 daughters. I live in a girls' dorm. Good morning, man. I sure appreciate people that are not apathetic. And thank you for taking your time this Wednesday morning, whatever you had to do for your arrangements to be here. And nothing gets done with apathy, but we can cause great change when people stand up and are not apathetic and make their voices heard. And let me give you confidence. Your voice is being heard this morning. Your presence is making a difference. These windows have many eyeballs. And they are pouring out the eyeballs. Right behind me, there's a significant office. This is where a lot of the governor signs her bills, and this right behind these doors here. The executive offices are right there. So don't think you are here being ignored. You are being paid attention to. Your presence makes a difference. Thank you to the organizers, and I want to commend Amanda's courage and bravery for lining up two Baptist preachers side by side. And I have written what I want to say to you down to be expedient with it, because we have a reputation. As I was introduced, my name is Pastor Jason Georges. I'm the pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in Herrema, Michigan. A church that has never stopped meeting despite governmental-led societal pressure. We have a Christian school whose athletes are safely playing unmasked. Actually, our students are attending school unmasked with unmasked teachers. I'm also an executive board member with Stand Up Michigan, and we have a fantastic executive director in Tammy, and she's a rock star. And I'm glad that she's ending all of this because she's going to fire you up. Yeah, go Tammy. We're here today because the forced masking of student athletes while performing their sport is dangerous and inherently wrong. While I'm not a medical doctor, I do not have to have expertise on the medical dangers, but common sense dictates that masking an athlete prevents the vital necessity for every athlete, oxygen. If world-class athletes are unable to participate masked at the highest levels, then why are we to believe our amateur student athletes would be able to do better or be able to perform unmasked?
That's right.
Masked athletes is dangerous.
Yes! Criminal!
But what I can speak to and perhaps give some grounding to is that besides being dangerous, why is the forced masking of minor children against their parents' will morally wrong? See, at its core, this is a moral issue. Yes. Allow me to build this point by sharing a parallel story. When the COVID hysteria began, it became quickly apparent that leading a large congregation of hundreds that worship together on Sunday and sing together was going to come under threat. While many churches shut down, believing it would only be 2 weeks, as they were misled to believe. Remember, it was 14 days to flatten the curve. But this option really bothered me. Not because I wasn't concerned with my church family's health. At the very beginning, when we were trying to determine what we were dealing with, we took necessary precautions, but always respecting the individual rights of every church participant. Inherently, we have freedom, and you can make your own choice. Our church, we and continue to have in-person worship. We have drive-in church and online church simultaneously, because the government does not have the right to tell you how to worship God.
That's right. This is America.
You have a brain that God has given you, and you can make up your own mind. And I felt that our responsibility was to simply give people as many options as possible. And so with this pressure to shut down, to close the time, as a pastor, I had a sincere conscience that I could not delegate to the government an authority that did not belong to them.
Yes.
I couldn't put the opening and closing of our church in the charge of the government. It's
That's
not
right.
their church.
That's right.
It's not their authority.
Yes.
Follow me along, because this has a parallel to what we're rallying for here this morning. There's a story in the New Testament where Jesus, in an attempt to entrap him, is given a Roman coin. He is asked whether he should pay taxes. His response was brilliant, but also makes a profound statement. He asked for the coin, and he asked whose inscription is on the coin, and they said, Caesar. To which he replies, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God's. And to this, Jesus is making a fundamental point. That there are some things that belong to God and not government.
That's right.
Because government is not God.
That's right. Woo!
There's some things that only belong to God. And he determines who gets to do what with those things. I call these sacred properties. For instance, the church, not the church property, the church congregation, the church people is a sacred property and it belongs to God.
Yep.
Life is a sacred property and it belongs to God.
Yep.
Marriage is a sacred property and it belongs to God. Your eternal soul is a sacred property and it belongs to God.
That's right.
I appreciate Pastor Rusty. I am a gospel preacher as well, and that your only hope is in placing your faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ. But you might say, what do these things have to do with masked athletes? Well, friends, our children are from God. And he has given parents a sacred responsibility to raise and nurture your own children, understanding that you will be held ultimately accountable by him, not the government.
Yes! Woo!
Hence, your parental rights are a sacred property.
Yes.
That only belong to you, given by God. And when government becomes tyrannical when it stands between parents and their children.
That's right. That's right. Woo!
You see, these are our children, our choice. That's the chant I got for my speech. So can we say that together? Our children,
our choice.
Our children, our choice.
Woo!
Representative Phil. Let's give him a round of applause. He's staying together with us. You see, these are our children, our choice. Let me give you two quick thoughts and I'll be done. First of all, our children will not be political property. Sacred property.
Yes.
These are your children.
Yes.
God has given you these children.
Yep.
You're responsible to their you're the one that food they eat, the clothing they wear, and the educational choices that you make. These are your responsibilities, and the government can't stand between you and your responsibility to your children.
That's right. Woo! Well
And
said.
your children. Now listen, as Americans, we're free to have opinions, and the government can make a suggestion. Yes. They can say, parents, we think you ought to, here's a suggestion. But to force you in the position of these masked athletes are facing today, to choose to quit is tyranny.
Yes.
To quote a famous Michigan barber, she is not our children's mother. She's not raising your kids. She's not my mother, and she's not your children's mother, and she have parents, and you know better. Parents, you know your children better than the government.
Yes.
A one-size-fits-all mandate that is applied to all children without respect doesn't even give an individual parent the right to say, I have a say in this matter, don't I? Don't I have a choice in whether or not my child is going to be asked to run cross-country while masked and be oxygen deprived? Do I not have a say in this? Well, friends, the people that occupy that office right over there say you have no say in this, that they're really not your children, that they are their children, and they know best.
Wrong!
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's worth getting up on a Wednesday morning and coming out and rallying for. And I agree with Pastor Rusty in saying this. Whether this is your particular issue, this is one symptom of many issues, and we must preserve and stand on these principles of our sacred parental rights. Sacred choice.
Our children! Our children! Our choice!
Our children!
Our choice! Our children! Our choice! Our children! Our choice! Our children! Our choice! Our children! Our choice!
Let me make one more point and we'll change some more. Not only will our children not be a political property today, or rather a sacred property, but as we're seeing this unfold in our nation, our children will not be political pawns.
That's right.
But are rather a parent's priority.
Yep.
No one cares more for your kids than you do.
Exactly.
And yet, right now, in the state of Michigan, our governor is using our children as political pawns.
Yep.
Pictures, objects, have degraded them to objects to expedite her political career and aspirations. With no regard for your parental rights. You see, as we've come to understand in society today and where we are right now, masks have become a symbol of control, not a solution to a crisis.
That's right. That's right.
And that's really what this is about.
Yes.
You say, well, no. Maybe she's sincere. She could be sincerely wrong, but maybe she's sincere. But listen, how can she be sincere if she is causing underage minor children against their parents' will to be masked, and yet the Detroit Lions don't have to be masked?
That's right. That's right.
You see, if it doesn't get equally applied, then this is no longer about the science, and this is no longer about saving lives. This is about political control.
Yes.
And this is about a governor trying to tell you that she knows better for your children than you know better.
Lock her up.
Masks have become a symbol of control and not a solution to a crisis. Hence, masked on student athletes is just another example in a long and growing list of arbitrary and unchecked dictates by a self-engrossed elected official who believes she has the divine right of a queen. We didn't elect a queen.
That's right.
It's in America.
Yep.
It's we the people.
Yep.
And we have elections, and elections mean something. And we have a legislature, and that means something as well.
Yep. Yep.
And our system of government has not been designed or intended to go that these two things do not cooperate one with another. They are supposed to be in check with each other.
That's right.
Checks and balances. And yet, masks on children has simply become a political football.
Ooh.
Has become another attempt, another way that this administration has shown that they can do it regardless if you don't like it or not. These demands are unreasonable. They're tyrannical and they're unethical.
That's right.
You see, let's finish with this. These are our choice.
Our children. Our choice. Our children. Our choice. Our children. Our choice.
Thank you very much.
Woo! Thank you.
All right. I think that's the winning chant so far. Sweet. So Tammy's going to come up for just a few more minutes to wrap us up. A few reminders. Please go to Senator Tice's website and co-sign her letter if you've not already done that. She just showed me a picture of it. There's it looks like a desk, like a whole stacks and stacks of those papers that they're printing off that are going to the governor today. So we're excited. And if you haven't done that, please do so. And share with your friends and on social media. Let's make sure that people know to do this as well. Melissa Gibson is here. She started a change.org petition. You can also, I think there's 77,000 people that have signed that petition so far. You can find that on change.org, Unmask Michigan Youth Sports, and add Unmask Our Athletes. Another call to action, call Governor Whitmer. Yes. Tell her your thoughts. Obviously, you're not going to speak to her directly, but people are taking messages for her. It is a headache. It takes 20 to 30 minutes on hold. It's awful hold music, really. But
she does that on purpose.
Put it on speaker and do something else, multitask. And when they finally do answer, please voice your concerns. The next thing you can do, and more importantly, maybe even, is call your state senators. Call your representatives. Tell them that you are concerned. Tell them how you feel. Make sure that they are being a voice for you as well. I think that's it for me. I'm so excited to see all you here. Tammy, if you want to come back up. She's going to say some closing statements. And get your walking shoes ready. We're actually going to hold our signs and do our winning chant as a circle around the lawn this morning as soon as she's done wrapping up.
Yeah, are you guys ready to make some noise?
Yes!
And let her hear? And this administration, what they have done to your kids. You ready to let them hear about it?
Yeah.
You're not going to take it? I feel like I need to play the song. We're not going to take it anymore. All right, so I just wanted to close this out on behalf of Stand Up Michigan. Many of you are following Stand Up Michigan. If you're not, please go to our Facebook page, like and follow and watch, because our goal as this organization is to, first of all, create a place where people can come and gather and care for each other. It was started simply because during this excessive quarantine, when we were all told that we couldn't work anymore, we couldn't visit our families, we couldn't go for a boat ride, we could not buy paint and paint our houses even though we were locked inside of them. That's when Stand Up Michigan started, as a place for people to come as a common platform to share your stories, your concerns, your frustrations, and it just grew out of that into an organization that is all about activating, empowering you, educating you, and informing you of what is going on behind the scenes within the legislature, some of the laws, some of the executive orders, and then analyzing and breaking a lot of that down. And when these mask mandates started, that's where I then got involved and started saying, whoa, 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 no, this is not right. This is not safe. It is not healthy. In my professional background, with my experience and credentials, I can tell you this is egregiously wrong. So then I stepped up, even though I was already the executive director with Stand Up Michigan. When this all started, that's when I started to stand up and get vocal from a professional perspective.
Thank you.
So that you guys had the information and the education that you needed to make informed decisions and to say, no.
Thank you, Tammy.
I'm not doing this because it's not right, and here's why. All right, so Kristen and I talked a lot about the information, the actual studies, the real science and the real data, and the real occupational hazards. And we know that these are hazards in the occupational workplace. Of course they're going to be hazards for your kids, right? And so that's what Stand Up Michigan is all about. It's about educating and informing and then activating you. And that's why, thank you so much to be involved, because these are the types of causes that we will get behind and we will support, because we have hundreds of thousands of people following us. So when we hear about causes like this and rallies like this, we want to know about it, because we can throw it out there on our platform to a much greater reach, to activate and empower the citizens in Michigan. I mean, everybody knows Stand Up Michigan in Michigan, right? And we are just getting started. We are not going away. So we're going to be making a big announcement here in the next 24 hours. Thank you to all of you who worked so hard on the Repeal 45 petition initiative. We are collecting the final signatures today. We are making a big announcement in the next 24 hours. And I'm so excited to tell you guys how successful you were. This is a petition initiative that was led by the people, all of you.
The people.
For the people, right? So let me just leave you with this. We've had a couple pastors up here and they were awesome. Pastor Jason, oh my gosh, I just love him. He's one of our board members. And I love him so much because He is a pastor, but he does not sit down and cower to political correctness.
That's right. Awesome.
And I love that about him. Don't you love that about Pastor Jason? And what don't you appreciate what he shared with you from a pastor? And also Pastor Chatfield, same thing. I've really come to love these two men because they are not sitting down. They are standing up.
Like all our church leaders should be.
Is doing that. So
they all should be.
We, the people, need a place to come and in our houses of worship where we can be encouraged. And yet there's too many pastors that are continuing the narrative of fear. Doing a rally actually back here on the steps of the Capitol on October 8th, partnering with the Michigan Pastor Churches. So please join us. More to come on that if you watch our website. But I just want to leave you with this. We are a very Christian group. Not everybody. We're bipartisan and we're of all different faiths, and some that are part of our group are not people of faith. That's okay. But we have a very large faith base within our organization. And so that field to speak and to share with you from a constitutional and a faith base, right? So let me just leave you with this, because I've gotten a lot of pushback by Christians who are going along with the narrative because they're saying, well, the Bible says that we should always obey and submit to those in authority.
Ridiculous.
Okay, let me address that. Who is the authority in the United States?
God.
We the people. All of you. We the people. So our Constitution protects our unalienable rights that are given to us by God.
Yes.
So anybody that we elect into a position of authority, we put them there. Anybody that we elect into a position of authority that violates your unalienable rights, that violates the Constitution that protects them, is not your authority.
That's right.
You do not need to submit to that from a Christian biblical perspective. Let's get that straight.
Right.
So what you're doing here by standing up is a righteous anger, and it's good.
Woo!
And this is what makes the United States of America the United States of America.
Yes.
So don't be afraid, and don't cower to those political correct, even within the church, those political correct statements that say, well, you know, out of love and respect for our neighbors and out of submitting to authority, we just need to do it. No, we don't.
That's right.
Because that's violating our God-given rights and our constitutional rights. So what are we doing?
Yes.
We need to get that tyranny out of the way, and we need to put back those in authority and in position of power and leadership that protect and defend our God-given constitutional rights. That's how it works in the United States. Got news for you, Gretch. That's how it works.
That's right.
All right, so we are going to march, and we are going to chant. What was the chant, Pastor Jason? Our children,
our choice.
Our choice. Our children, our choice. So those of you that have signs, I want you to hold them up as we walk around, and I want to hear the chants. I want the governor to hear it in your office over there. Woo! Our children, our choice.
Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice.
Lead the way, Amanda. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice.
Our choice. Our children, our choice.
Our children,
our choice.
Our children, our choice. Our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children,
our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, choice. Our children, our choice. Children, our choice. Our children, our choice.
Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice.
Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our children, our choice. 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 Our children, our choice.
Our children, our choice.
I heard a little bit of it. Good, good. Go up there, kids. Go on up. Get your signs up there.
You guys got something. Get up. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Our children, our choice. Every child is God's choice.
Thanks for watching, guys. Wish we had 10,000 people here.
And he'd be like, oh, you can do the next one.
Keep standing up, guys. You're fine. Keep standing up. speak up while we still have the chance to speak up here in the United States. Our First Amendment rights, our freedoms, and our liberties are really in peril. It's important that everybody speaks up, stands up, fights back. So thanks for watching. I'm freezing. I'm hoping you're hearing me. All right. Have a blessed day. Keep fighting the good fight. Bye.